Hello and welcome to another video. In today's video we are going to be continuing with the Bolens Tube Frame Snowcaster 32, and in the previous video we reassembled this to the point where it is all back together, and what we're going to be doing today is working out how we can fit this to a tractor. Now, the main thing stopping us putting this attachment onto a tractor right now is the fact that it doesn't have an attachment lift link bracket, which goes onto the frame there and then onto the attachment lift lever of the tractor. So we're going to be making one of them today, and to help us with that we've got a few things in the workshop. We have our Bolens 1253 here with our Bolens G14 next to it. And we also have our Bolens Tube Frame Snowplow here, which hasn't been on the channel for quite a while, which conveniently has its lift link bracket on there that we can copy off of to help us make one for our Snowcaster. We've had a bit of a move around just to give us a bit more space here. Now we're going to be fitting the snowblower, for the moment at least, to the 1253. And this is probably the more appropriate tractor to fit that to, since it's an earlier attachment and this is an earlier tractor. However, that may change in the future, never know. But we've lined up our snowplow here up to the G14 so that we can see how the attachment link bracket goes over the axle and stuff like that. But for people that aren't too familiar with how these attachments fit to a Bolens tube frame, on the front axle here there's these two brackets that drop down there, and these pins on there go through there, and that acts as a pivot point. Then as we go around to the side, you can see the attachment lift link there, which goes back towards the attachment lift lever here, which this attaches to the top pin on here. There's also a pin underneath down here. Now usually front mounted attachments go on the top pin, like this snowplow, and rear mounted attachments such as a sleeve hitch to put a plough on would go on the bottom pin. Now on the lift link here, you can see this end has a slot in it to allow the blade to float, and then on the other end there is two holes so that you can have a bit of adjustment on there. We've connected up the snowplow now, and thinking about it, the second hole on this bar is probably for if you wanted to fit this snowplow to a Bolens 600, because most of the tube frames have the same wheelbase and chassis size. However, the Bolens 600 has a shorter chassis, and therefore it needs a shorter bar for lifting the attachment, so that would make sense if that other hole is for that instead of adjustment, as I said before. But with the blade on the ground here, you can see the float and how that works on the lift link when it's still fully attached, and that means that allows for some bumps in the terrain when you're snow ploughing, etc. Now what we're going to do is take our Snowcaster and put that on the floor in front of the 1253 so that we can line everything up, kind of like what we did with this, and see how it works with the position of this part, but on the Snowcaster of course, to see whether we can just make a lift link that's identical size to this, or whether we need to do some more measurements for our link that we're going to be making. We have the Snowcaster attached to the brackets on the front axle now. and we haven't attached a PTO yet, just attached it to the mounting brackets so that we can get an idea of where this sits. Also, something we've noticed now that we've got this on the ground is it does appear to be very small down here, although it was quite awkward to get on because of how heavy it is, which is why there's no video of us lining up and putting the pins in. But now we had a thought, and what we think we're going to do is take off the lift link from the snow blade and take that off and use that as a pattern, which is when we had a bit of a brainwave to check the manuals for both of these attachments, because we go over to the computer here. This is the Snowblade manual, as you can see here, and there is the lift link, part number 3. Go down to here, there you go, lift link, part number 1714432. Now remember that number as we go to the Snowcaster manual. As you can see there, that's the diagram, and it is part 75 in this manual, the lift link. So if we scroll down here to 75, and the part number 1714432, the exact same part number, so it is an identical part, which means in the long term, eventually we'll be able to make an exact replica of that lift link for the Snowcaster. But today what we're going to be doing is using it to make something that's the exact same size, but may not look identical to the original part that is on Snowblade. Lift link removed now from the blade, and we're going to take this over to Snowcaster, and I will put this on here, and just for a bit of testing purposes, I won't put the washers on yet, but I'll put these small R-clips on. Both ends here, and we'll give it a test lift. Oh, that's quite heavy, especially compared to the blade. Looks good. And I'll let it down again. There we go. And I'll just quickly take this off again, since this won't permanently be on here. This was just to see what it looks like. But now this is off and accessible, so that we can try and get the dimensions from it for R1. So we're over at the bench now with the lift link, and you can see the dimensions of it there. Now, ideally, what we would do is get a piece of bar that is that long with a bit of excess, and then probably about 3 inches across, and then we would just laser cut around this one, and then do the drilling and milling to make it the exact same thing. However, we don't have any material to do that today, and if we spend all of today looking for material to do that, then it'll probably snow by the time we find it. So we're going to do something different today, and in future we will get some metal and do that plan. But today we are going to be using this, which is an old alternator adjustment bracket off an old Ford. As you can see there, it's got the Ford badge. That's upside down. The Ford badge, and I think this came. I did search up the part number, and I think this came off of Ford Cortina, which was quite a popular car here in the UK back in the 70s, 80s kind of time. And the slot is pretty similar to the one in here. It is a tiny bit shorter, but that shouldn't matter too much. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut this somewhere here in half, effectively, and then shape this bit of rod here to be a similar shape to this, and then weld the 2 ends to either end of the bar or the rod to make a similar shape to this. A bit of time later now, and we have everything set up on the bench here. You can see where we cut the alternator bracket in half, and then we cleaned up this end a bit here, and same with the other end. And from in between the two ends, we got this wedge part which we've shoved under there just to prop up the rod so that it's all laying flat. Then we've cleaned up both ends of the rod after we bent it in the press, as you saw in that clip. But now what's left to do is welding each end. So we're going to put a couple of tacks on each end and then take it off of the snow blade lift bar, and then we can finish fully welding it up separately. Here we have our finished product, and I have to admit, we did make a bit of a mistake with this, which some of you may have noticed, which was when we were making it on top of this bracket here, this way around, which actually it needed to be the way that this is now. So once we had fully made it, welded everything on, we went over to the tractor with it, and it was the wrong way, because with this being offset, having this piece of bar here, it didn't fit on the pins on the tractor, and we had to re-bend it so that it's now this way, because this is how it should be. But at least now that is complete, and we are quite happy with that. Now, something else that we've done off camera is we've switched the UJ that we had cleaned up to put on there with this other UJ, because the UJ that was on there was a bit tight on the tractor PTO, and we wanted to use this one instead because that was a bit of a better fit. But now I'll take this over to the tractor and you will be able to see what it looks like on there. So we put the slot end on first and put that on there. You can see that now fits perfectly, and you can kind of see on this end where having it the other way up would have fouled it with this being touching that, because the bracket wasn't actually on the pin. But now we just need to put in a couple of pins and put on the new UJ, and then it is ready to test. Everything is connected up now, and I'll give a quick demonstration of lifting it with our new lift lever. And the PTO is connected up to what I didn't realise, or I'd forgotten, was the PTO that we'd actually put on this tractor from another one when we were getting this working, because this didn't have a PTO. So this will be the first test of the PTO on this tractor, and also our Snowcaster. So this will be a test of the ability of the belts that we've got on it, the PTO of the tractor, power of the tractor, and of course our attachment that we've been working on for a few weeks now. So let's give it a go. that worked quite well.
Yeah, and a message from the cameraman: when you put your hand down by the chute, it's like a hairdryer. The air pressure coming out from it is quite incredible.
We're very pleased with how the Snowcaster worked there, and all we need is some snow now. And in the event of us getting some snow, we have this, which is a snow carpet, which was one of multiple recommendations that we had for lining the chute, so that the snow doesn't stick in the chute and clog up the attachment. And if we do get some snow, then we will put this to use. And completely by accident, while doing this video, we've gotten out our Bolens tube frame snow blade and fully set that up. So we have two tube frame tractors here with a Snowcaster and a blade on, ready for some snow. And of course we also have our Bolens HT20 with the hydraulic tilt blade on it as well, which completes, I would say, a very good snow clearing lineup. But as we said before, all we need now is some snow to get to use all of these. And now that we've finished this Snowcaster project, we'll probably go back to the Moto Standard 1010 and try and get that finished a bit more. But that is it for this video. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this Snowcaster series, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.